Our next guest is no stranger to the debt problems facing states all around this country. Illinois Treasurer Dan Rutherford said it's abundantly clear how fiscal difficulties should be solved. Quote, someone has to go out and have the testosterone and deal with the problems, particularly with the public employee unions. Some pretty colorful words. Here with more to explain is the Treasurer, Dan Rutherford himself. So, Mr. Treasurer, do you have the testosterone?
Well, tell you what, I don't get on TV shows like you without having to have that testosterone. So let's make that real clear. On national.
What does that mean, though? What are you doing to pension benefits of state workers?
Well, there's a big debate going on, particularly some in Washington, D.C., about the opportunity for states to have the sovereign governments of states to file bankruptcy. I have been very clear that that is something that I oppose. I'm a Republican elected in the state of Illinois, one of the first in a long time, and it's been Republicans that have been in Congress pushing for that. And I understand the politics to it. It may be better for them to go in and try to renegotiate pensions for the unions. I think it's the wrong way to go. You need to be able to deal with them in your own local states.
So, but when you made that statement, specifically about the testosterone question, you were talking about those employee unions. I mean, what kind of cuts are you going to have to make here? What are you proposing?
Well, in states all across the country, they're going to have to go out there and understand that current participants in the public pension programs have got to be looking at reconfiguring the type of benefits they have. There are constitutional questions that some states have, one of them in my state of Illinois, as to whether you can change the pension benefits for someone that's currently enrolled. My contention is that what they have already invested is vested. It's from that day forward that we need to be looking at. There will be litigation. I know there will be. There'll be constitutional questions. My belief is, bring it on. We have to go and resolve this. We have to see if it is a constitutional question or not, and cause changes to be done in the legislature and by the governor of our state. Yeah,
just to give our viewers and listeners a sense of what we're talking about, your pensions are underfunded by more than $80 billion in Illinois. Your retiree health care liability is about $40 billion, and you've got a backlog of more than $8 billion in bills. Talk to me about the $8 billion. How are you going to pay that?
Well, the legislature during the lame duck session did pass an income tax increase. I was opposed to it, and the reason was the fact that it was an income tax increase by itself without going and dealing with the other side of the ledger. That is on the expenses and the pension side of it. We need to go out and look at the type of efforts with regards to Medicaid, the Medicaid match. I don't believe it should be left to the federal government to try to bail the states out. We need to go in, and the biggest area in the backlog of bills, though, comes in cash flow. As a treasurer of Illinois, I have the authority to sign off or not short-term borrowing. I'm willing to look at those if the payment plans are there to pay it back.
But short-term borrowing, I mean, your credit rating as a state, you're tied to California for the lowest rated when you look at the rating agencies, particularly Moody's. So when are you talking about having to raise capital?
Well, we're in negotiations right now. We're talking right now in the state capitol in Springfield. And again, I think what's happening...
California has chosen to push that off for the near term, but you are going to issue new debt.
Well, no, I want to be careful how I say that. I'm talking about short-term borrowing. If it has the cash flow and capability to pay it back, I'm not looking at the state of Illinois issuing new debt without having a plan in place to do it. And this is where I think it's important to have, I think it's important now to have the other side of the debate. We've not had a Republican on the statewide stage that's been able to articulate from the finance side of it some of the opposition that the Democratic majority has had here in the state of Illinois.
Well, talk to me, though. We just talked about the way that ratings agencies view the debt that you already have.
And by the way, our ratings improved slightly with the income tax increase.
Right,
so, I mean,
which you just said you opposed.
Those were positive, which I did oppose. That's right.
So what have you heard since then from the ratings agencies in terms of some of these new proposals that you're floating or considering?
Well, I mean, I think they're looking. We're floating that. We haven't gone out into the public market yet, or the public exposure to that yet. So, what we're looking at is to try to deal with this in the next few months here in the legislature with regards to spending, the cuts we need to do, what type of cash flow capabilities we can put together, and particularly in paying down the current outstanding bills we have out there.
So, have you seen any signs of improvement in terms of revenue?
Slightly. Now, again, we had the income tax increase.
Right.
One of the things that we are starting to see here in the state of Illinois is that the unemployment is going down slightly. A lot of this is got to be mentally prepared for the consumer to understand that we're going to have to resolve this over a period of time. It won't be done in one fiscal year. So as we see the national economy hopefully and starting to improve, those will be positives for the state of Illinois as well.
So the only revenue improvements you've seen so far have been as a result of the tax increase?
The tax increase, and another area that's a challenge to all of us in states, I mean, talking about treasurers all across the nation, is the investment portfolios that I'm responsible for. We're not bringing in as much into the Treasury and the investment portfolios as have been historically in the past. So that's another area that we need to manage as well.
Be the state's banker there. All right. Thank you very much,
That's right.
Treasurer. We're going to be tracking your progress. Love to have you back on the show.
And I would look forward to that opportunity. Have a good day.
All right. Take